Yeah. Former Cabinet Minister Tan Sri Rafida Aziz could not have put it better to describe the grave crisis of confidence the country is facing today. That the mess Malaysia is facing has nothing to do with race, but with governance, transparency, and integrity. I call on the Prime Minister Najib and the Cabinet at its meeting tomorrow to initiate a virtuous circle or cycle of development to restore confidence by focusing on the issues of governance, transparency, and integrity, and to end the drift aggravated by attempts by some irresponsible quarters to create racial diversions like the Red Shirts movement and the September the 16th Malay rally to counter a non-existing Chinese threat in Bersih 4 overnight rally. Malaysia has lost two previous and precious months in failing to address the confidence crisis, especially since the Wall Street Journal publication of July the 3rd about the 2.6 billion donation in Najib's personal bank accounts in the 13 GE. Najib has not lived up to his promise of accountability, transparency, and integrity and good governance, which he had promised Malaysians on becoming PM. As in the past 2 months, despite growing national and international pressures, including the 3-day 16th International Anti-Corruption Conference, which virtually focused on Najib's 2.6 billion donation scandal, Najib has not explained much except to say that he had not used any money for his personal purpose, and the tacit admission that the 2.6 billion ringgit deposited into his bank accounts was donation from foreign sources. I am bewildered as to how Najib, who had been in public life for nearly 40 years, serving at different times as MP, Cabinet Minister, Deputy PM, and Prime Minister for 6 years, had not realized the gravity of his receiving foreign funds for general elections campaigning in the country. DAP had never received a single cent from any foreigners in the past 5 decades. But if we had received such foreign funding, however puny the amount, DAP would have been accused of being anti-national and even guilty of treason. In such circumstances, how could Najib receive any foreign funding for the 13 GE, and not a small sum, but 2.6 billion ringgit, which is an astronomical figure. In fact, 2.6 billion ringgit was 26 times more than what was permissible to be spent by all the 222 parliamentary and 505 state assembly candidates of the DAP National in the 13 GE. The maximum expenditure which is legally permissible for a parliamentary candidate is 200,000 ringgit. And the maximum legal expenditure for a state assemblyman is 100,000 ringgit. With 222 parliamentary candidates and 505 state assembly candidates, the maximum legal electoral expenditures for all the 222 parliamentary and 505 state assembly candidates of UMNO BN in the 13 GE will come to 44.4 million for all the parliamentary candidates and 50.5 million ringgit for all the state assembly candidates, making a grand total of 94.9 million ringgit, not even 100 million. So the 2.6 billion ringgit in Najib's personal account for the 13 GE is more than 26 times the legally permissible limit to be spent by all the BN, parliamentary and state assembly candidates in the 13 GE. How many of the ministers, deputy ministers and UMNO and BN MPs are tainted by this foreign funding of 2.6 billion ringgit in Najib's personal accounts for the 13 GE? Sharia, the former minister and now BNBBC chairman, has admitted that he was one of the beneficiaries and recipients from this foreign funding via personal accounts for the 13G. He said he received 1 million. When are the other ministers, deputy ministers and MPs who have been beneficiaries from this foreign funding in the last GE going to admit and excuse themselves from participating in any decision-making process connected with Najib's 2.6 billion ringgit donation scandal? I welcome two recent developments. The decisions by Malaysia's expert in political funding, Terence Gomez, and the Centre to Combat Corruption and Cronyism, C4, not to participate in the National Consultative Council Committee on Political Funding, which is chaired by the Minister in the PM's Department on Governance and Integrity, Paul Lau. The National Consultative Council on Political Funding is just a charade, as this is not, as if it is not, it's just a charade if it is not allowed to deal with the elephant in the room, Najib's 2.6 billion donation scandal, and it is not allowed to. There is no doubt that the whole idea of the National Consultative Council on Political Funding had only one purpose: to shut up inquiries and investigations into Najib's 2.6 billion donation scandal. It was a scandal of this 2.6 billion ringgit in his personal accounts, which was responsible for the 16th IACC being a global public relations disaster for Malaysia for 3 consecutive days, starting with the PM pulling out in the last minute from officiating at the IACC for fear of hard questions, followed by the Malaysia's daily crucifixion over the issue of IACC delegates, over the issue by IACC delegates during the 3-day conference. In fact, after Malaysia's unprecedented humiliation at a 3-day international conference and held the home ground in Malaysia, Paul Lau should have tendered his resignation as minister instead of chairing the National Consultative Council on Political Funding, which lacks both credibility and legitimacy. If Malaysia is to move forward to end the grave crisis of confidence afflicting the country, either Najib should step down immediately as Prime Minister, or he must prove he and his reshuffled cabinet can end the drift afflicting the country in the past 2 months, and capable of formulating and implementing a new blueprint which will initiate a virtuous cycle of development to restore confidence by focusing on the issues of transparency, integrity, and good governance. This is the greatest challenge before Najib and his cabinet tomorrow.